Hey there, Cosmic Warriors, and welcome back to another video. And if you are new here, my name is Hannah. I am a Western Practical Astrologer. Okay, so today we are going to be talking about Lilith, Black Moon Lilith, through the houses. First and foremost, I just want to highlight that Lilith through the signs, that video is up, all 12 signs. So watch that video for the how. So to think about how you are avenged, how you are empowered. But today we're going to focus on the where, okay? So the houses can show us the where. So where a particular energy, where a particular planet plays out and functions. So we're really going to be focusing on these different areas of life. Now, before we do dive in, however, if you want to learn more about astrology, then head on over to the Cosmic Check-In podcast. And also, you can always pick up a copy of my astrology cheat sheets. They are available over on my website, hannahselsewhere.com. Naturally, you can also book a reading with me if you are interested. Thank you. To let you know, there is already an episode all about Black Moon Lilith available on the Cosmic Check-In podcast. It is episode 46. And I really explain the mythology of Lilith in that episode and the function of Lilith too. But we're just going to go over a few keynotes to do with Black Moon Lilith in the birth chart. I'm going to try and keep this short and sweet. First thing I'm going to say is, if you want to locate the true Lilith, it's code H13 when you go onto astro.com, and there is the manual entry point. H13, yes, use that code for the true Lilith. We did explore that there is a mean Lilith, there's also a true Lilith, and I've been working a lot more lately with the true Lilith. I can still see, though, how both are beneficial. Okay, there are different opinions and perspectives about those. But anyway, Black Moon Lilith, what is Black Moon Lilith all about? I think that Black Moon Lilith really works in stages. So there is the humiliation stage, there is the villainization stage, being shamed or shunned or ridiculed, judged heavily, rejected, looked down upon. And then what we may do is we may repress our urges, repress our anger. Then a lot of pent up energy can happen, a lot of hidden matters can happen. Rage, things like that, right? Forbidden desires too. And then the thing about it furthermore is Black Moon Lilith can show up as how we react when we are being overpowered, when we are being dominated. I think we get to this point where we say, no more, I'm not doing this. So what we do is we can show our wild side, we can show this defiance, we can be quite rebellious, untamed, and we connect with our autonomy. We can connect with our autonomy, empower ourselves, empower others. We do not conform. And so we're going to be authentic. We're going to tell the truth, even if the truth hurts. And this is also about turning what we are ashamed of into something empowering. Having said that, the thing is that, yes, when we explore Black Moon Lilith, we can also go to extremes. We can behave basically in these really unruly, untamed ways, but in a disrespectful way, where we might be ruthless, we might cross other people's boundaries, we can be confrontational, we can give into our primal instincts, we can give into our animal urges, our temptations. So we do want to be quite mindful when we work with Black Moon Lilith in the chart too. Also partly why perhaps it's important to integrate Black Moon Lilith. And the other thing is that I see Black Moon Lilith as playing a role within how we cover up our pain, how we hide from what is really going on deep down. So like I said, we explored all of that in the Black Moon Lilith through the signs video, so feel free to check that out. Now what we're going to do then is explore Black Moon Lilith through the houses, really thinking about these different sectors of your life. Okay, first and foremost then, let's explore Lilith in the first house. So, what can this suggest about you? Well, this is certainly where we see you possibly being humiliated for how you appear, for how you look. Even if, for example, you are beautiful, very attractive, very alluring, others may still shame you. This could be a case of people being very, very envious of you or wanting to tear you down because of your look, because of your appearance. And this can also show up as others shaming you for how you look, right? And maybe in this regard, you have at times reached a point of no more. I am not going to put up with this. Who are you to judge me? Who are you to shame me? So it appears as if you're on this journey where you're coming to accept how you appear, your identity, how you come across, right? Your look, etc. And to be somewhat unapologetic for how you look, owning it, and saying that, you know what, the haters are going to hate and you're still going to thrive. You're still going to live your life. Another possibility, though, is that this is so much about you connecting with your autonomy, really connecting with what you want, what your goals are, what your path is. That's another thing, I suppose. There could be the shame, the humiliation, you being villainized for your choices, for your path. People maybe trying to sway you or tell you, oh, no, 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 you shouldn't be doing that with your life, or that's not the right path for you. And a lot of negativity being placed upon you in this regard. So again, this is where we could see you turning this shame, something that maybe others have tried to shame you for, turning this shame into empowerment, into truth, into honesty. Do also remember that the sign Lilith is in is going to show you how this is playing out. So definitely watch for your Lilith sign. But basically, as for some examples, if, for instance, this is Black Moon Lilith in Libra in the first house, there really could be big themes here to do with your beauty, right? The humiliation, the insults for your beauty, but in actuality, it's other people projecting their own stuff onto you, right? And then equally, you growing in your authenticity and being very accepting of your beauty. Or let's say it is Black Moon Lilith in Leo, right? This stuff could be about confidence. This could be about you being called to show off or attention seeking for how you do your hair or your makeup or how you dress, whatever. So there is that. Yeah. So look to the sign for the how. Okay. Moving on then to Black Moon Lilith in the second house. All right. This is where we see you possibly being shamed or ridiculed or shunned for certain materials you own, for certain products you have, maybe certain people trying to put you down for your desires to want to provide for yourself or earn money. Could also be a case of certain family members, especially being quite cruel to you about money or calling you stuck up or very materialistic or excessive. And hey, when it comes to Black Moon Lilith, okay, sure, there could be that manifestation where you might be super attached to your finances and your materials. But this is the thing, we did explore Lilith through the signs, and how it is important to integrate Black Moon Lilith. And so I think that you might come to terms with times in the past when materials and products, money, those things have been used against you. And so maybe there is this fight within you to want to provide for yourself within good reason, right? Then again, this could also be a case of the humiliation when it comes to your self-worth, your self-esteem, and how that can perhaps be a bit of a challenging spot for you. And so this is where it is quite important for you to work with this energy by accepting yourself and seeing that your worth is not based, it's not based on materials, right? It's not based on what you own. And then I'm equally thinking about this shame or this ridicule to do with talents or skills, things you find pleasure in. Those things being this sensitive area, but then equally, this is where we see you connecting with your autonomy and saying, no, I enjoy this. I like to play this instrument, or I really value this product that I own. It helps me in this way or that way, right? These are my comforts. These are my pleasures. These are my basic needs. And I need my basic needs to be met, right? There can be this truth telling and this authenticity present with you if you've got Lilith in the second house. Of course, this also does depend on the sign, right? So let's say, for instance, so by the way, the sign is going to show the how, and then the house is going to show the where. If, for instance, this is Black Moon Lilith in Capricorn, yeah, this could manifest as the villainization, the humiliation tied to ambition, tied to success or status. So, for example, certain family members may be judging you or ridiculing you for your desire to be successful. There is that as a possibility. Or let's say, for example, let's go with Cancer. If Black Moon Lilith is in Cancer in the second house, this could be a case of you maybe being shamed for your emotional attachments to what you own and that sort of protectiveness over what you own, or your desire to want to collect a lot of things. So, yeah, that's where the rejection could come in. But then also, what I'm trying to get at here is when we work with Black Moon Lilith, there is a great deal of self acceptance. It's certainly a journey, and I do highly recommend watching Lilith Through the Signs for more information about that and really how that can play out for you. Okay, thank you very much, Lilith in the second house, people. And now we're going to move on to Lilith in the third house. So, with Black Moon Lilith being located in the third house, well, this could manifest as a lot of rejection and shame coming from your siblings, especially. The humiliation from siblings, you being put down by siblings, possibly by cousins, just by close relatives. We also could look at this through a lens of humiliation at school, thinking about your early schooling years, possibly you being bullied, you being picked on. Could also be themes here of certain teachers maybe calling you out or shaming you for answering certain questions in a particular way. Could also be a case of neighbors, right? So neighbors being inappropriate, or neighbors being very rejecting and maybe calling you a villain, seeing you as the bad guy, or shaming you for maybe walking a certain way or talking a certain way or just being you, right? So these are the kinds of people that might showcase these behaviors that are not so kind. They're not so compassionate. And then also, this is where we see the power dynamics at play, right? The manipulative tactics, things like that. And your tendency to push back against that, to rise and to say, no, I'm not going to put up with that, right? So to react in this way where you're not going to be overpowered, you're not going to be dominated, and you may use your voice, use your words to make that very, very clear. So let's say, for example, Black Moon Lilith is located in Taurus. You're going to be very stubborn and fixed, right? You are not going to bend to other people's will easily. And you're going to stand your ground, be very firm in what you're saying. And there's some kind of conviction there, right? There is a refusal to be put down, for example. And then let's say, for instance, if we were to think about how the sign does represent the high, let's say it's Scorpio. Yeah, Black Moon Lilith and Scorpio in the third house. Oh, yeah, this is where you can certainly cut other people down to size. And you almost can pick up on what someone actually means and the intentions behind, why. So basically the intentions behind why they're saying something, and what power dynamics may be at play, what may be projected onto you within that situation. Could also be much deeper themes at play. We think about unresolved traumas and heavier emotions beneath the surface, which you may explore by going on a psychological journey throughout your life. All right, thank you very much, Lilith in the third house, folks. Now on to Lilith in the fourth house. Lilith in the fourth house, folks. Right. This could be a situation where your own mother or father is the source of humiliation for you, right? Where it's them that have humiliated you in some way, shape, or form, or they have labeled you as the villain, maybe because you didn't get with the program, you didn't follow or obey their rules or their regulations, whatever. You didn't go along with their guidance. Now, another possibility here is that perhaps you were shamed or rejected for your emotions, for your emotional world and needs. So I imagine this as you being very angry at your parents, angry for how they raised you, for how they treated you. Or, of course, this could also be more of an emotional experience where maybe you're quite private. You don't let on that your lack of being nurtured in the way that you needed. You don't let on that those are the kinds of things that you're experiencing deep down. Plus, maybe there is some type of rage about home and family in general. For example, other family members could be involved in this, where you're really angry at how your parents were raised, or that, this could basically be more of a generational thing. And it could also be a property thing, a home thing. Maybe, for example, not feeling this sense of belonging within your family, or not feeling this homely feeling, this nurturing feeling. And with that being said, then I'm thinking that a big part of your life path is to connect with your own autonomy by finding those connections, right? Those connections where you do feel emotional support, emotional comfort, or where your emotions are validated, or where you can regulate yourself. Could even be a case of your own privacy meaning so much to you. And then I also think partly about your privacy being violated in a large way, possibly growing up. Yes, this is where we see the anger and rage and maybe this wanting to get revenge, get even with certain family members, with your parents, right? So I want to say here that the sign is going to show you the high, right? So make sure to watch Black Moon Lilith through the signs. But let's say, for instance, this is Black Moon Lilith and Pisces in the fourth. And yes, this could be a case of your boundaries being violated. This could be a case of emotional enmeshment or feeling almost engulfed, right? Just too much overload, emotional overload. Or this could be a case of you having to attend to your family members' needs and it being a matter of it's the lines being very blurry, right? It's like, is this mine to sort out? Is this for me to carry? Right? It's those kinds of questions that could come through. Or let's say it's Black Moon Lilith in, yeah, let's go with Virgo, right? In a similar fashion with Black Moon Lilith and Virgo, if we were to think about the high, this could be a case of you being a servant, a cleaner, a maid for your family, always picking up after them, or always being picked on or shamed or judged for how you did things within the house, amongst family members. Those kinds of themes could have really played out too. But just remember that this is also about you coming to this point of greater empowerment, right, with this placement. So, yes, it's about it's also about seeing that you're learning how to be accepting of your emotions and to validate your emotions and to also explore your autonomy when we think about where you want to settle down or where you feel safe. Those kinds of questions arise here. Thank you so much, Lilith in the fourth house, folks. Now we're going to move on to Black Moon Lilith in the fifth house. Okay, Black Moon Lilith in the fifth house, people. Well, this is where we see the shame and the ridicule tied to self expression, tied to fun and play. I imagine kids at school, other children ridiculing you, judging you, shaming you for how you expressed yourself, for your creativity, for your desire to want to shine and perform and entertain, maybe being teased, picked on for your hobbies, being called childish, for example, or being laughed at just for being you, just for your individuality, for your way of creating. And there could be, honestly, there could be this thing within you that says, no, I'm going to prove them wrong. I'm still going to be me. I'm still going to explore my passions and my interests. I'm still going to do what I love, right? Because that's the thing with Black Moon Lilith. There is a kind of defiance, there's a kind of authenticity that doesn't tolerate that kind of disrespect. But of course, there can also be the repression, right? There can be some challenges to do with your confidence. Maybe often you can question yourself at times as if to say, am I being a show off? Am I doing this for attention? Or am I doing this because I love it, right? That kind of conversation could be going on in your head at times. Still, of course, with Black Moon Lilith, a big part of it is about empowerment, right? So you may come to really learn how to focus more on the enjoyment, the fun, the pleasure when you do create. Plus, I'm also thinking to myself, this villainized, humiliating stuff tied to romantic partners. So certain crushes or people you dated, lovers from the past who were flipping really horrible, really mean, really cruel. And you may even still till this day have a lot of anger or rage towards those people for how they treated you. But then this could also be a case of you coming to really love yourself and to be confident within yourself and to not depend on that external validation from other people, right? Now, the sign is going to show the how. And you could be someone like me who has Black Moon Lilith in Aquarius in the 5th house. That's using the Placidus system for me, by the way. So the how, when we think about Aquarius, is it's that weirdness. It's being the unusual one. It's being shamed for your difference, right? For expressing your difference, expressing your uniqueness in a creative way, and then other people projecting a lot of their own stuff onto you, their own insecurities onto you. Or let's go with let's go with Sagittarius, right? So Sagittarius, Black Moon Lilith in Sagittarius, they're in the 5th. This could be more so about the shame and ridicule tied to your philosophies, your beliefs, your freedom, your ability to go on adventures and to try new things, to explore things outside of your comfort zone, right? Maybe a lot of second guessing could have happened, especially when you were growing up, because of other people's their beliefs being placed onto you and you being told you must believe in this thing. So yeah, this could be a case of you coming to really validate what your beliefs are when it comes to creativity, your passions, your interests, your hobbies, and so on. Thank you, Lilith in the 5th house. And now on to Black Moon Lilith in the 6th. Okay, Black Moon Lilith in the 6th house, folks. Right. This is where we see possibilities of humiliation at work, literally in the workplace. And I'm just going to say here, bit of vulnerability, but using the whole sign system in my chart, Black Moon Lilith is in Aquarius in the 6th house, and those kinds of themes certainly happened throughout my life. So yes, if you have this placement, this could literally manifest as some kind of humiliation or you even being villainized, right? You being seen as the villain within the workplace. But that's an interesting one because in actuality, you're probably thinking, I'm not the villain. I know who the villain is, but it's being projected onto me, right? And also, there could be some kind of rejection or this shame for your dietary choices, for your fitness choices, right? Maybe some people seeing it as wrong or bad or negative that, oh, how dare you eat that, or how dare you stop eating that, right? So if you, for example, decide to change your diet for your well-being, this could be going vegan or choosing not to be vegan anymore, whatever way it is. You're going to get people who shame you for that, who ridicule you for that, who try to bring you down. But with Black Moon Lilith here, there is a defiance. There is a no, you're not gonna tell me what I can and can't eat in this way, right? This is what we're working with when we explore Black Moon Lilith. But then there's also that standing up against certain coworkers or even systems, methods, strategies that you think that's a bit suspicious. That's a bit odd, right? For me, on a personal level, yes, because Lilith is in Aquarius. Aquarius shows the how. Yeah, I mean, this could very well manifest as me being a bit more about, okay, fairness and not conforming, if you will. But let's even go with if Black Moon Lilith is in, let's say, I'm trying to think of a sign that I haven't used yet. Let's go with Aries. Yeah, let's go with Black Moon Lilith and Aries in the 6th house, my goodness, you're going to be even more forthright, even more direct, even more like in people's faces, and refusing to back down, essentially, if you find that those kinds of manipulative tactics and those kinds of mistreatments are happening in the workplace. But let's think of this a different way, right? So, like I'm trying to get at here is the sign is going to show the how, right? But let's think of it a different way with Lilith in the 6th house. Let's also consider it through this angle of productivity, your stress levels, even your health. So, for instance, this could manifest as you being villainized, demonized for your way of doing things, for your productivity levels or your lack of productivity levels. For example, being called lazy, right? That could be a possibility. Or you being told that you're too stressful, you're worrying too much. You shouldn't be stressing out about that, right? And maybe there is some truth to that. But it could manifest as others maybe rejecting you for your stress. I even imagine this as certain health practitioners not getting to the root cause of what you're experiencing because maybe they think, oh, you're just panicking, you're just worrying. That could be another manifestation. So, yes, thank you very much, Lilith in the 6th house. Though, of course, remember just quickly that this is about empowerment. This is about you coming to terms with, sure, I eat this way, or these are my habits, or these are my routines, and I'm going to be authentic as I explore those. Yes. Thank you, Lilith in the 6th house. And now on to Black Moon Lilith in the 7th house. All right. With Black Moon Lilith residing in the 7th house in your chart, this could manifest as others heavily projecting onto you or seeing you as a competitor, seeing you as an enemy, or this could manifest as some kind of humiliation by or from someone who you were you were supposed to trust that person. So, for example, this could look like your marriage falling apart because of your spouse's infidelity, or this could manifest as you getting married or about to get married, right? You're engaged, and then there's something awful that happens, and then you feel really humiliated. Or this could also look like a certain humiliation tied to relationships themselves. So, committed relationships could be this area of retaliation or anger or rage, revenge too. I'm thinking you wanting to be avenged in some way, shape, or form when it comes to a spouse, when it comes to a significant other, even, you know what, when it comes to a business partner, because that's another possibility. There could be some potential betrayal tied to a business partner. And for example, this could look like them going back on their word, their agreement not going according to plan, a deal that falls through, and it's because of their own negligence. It's because of their lack of respect. Could even be a case of that business situation being more about what they want, right? So they're very selfish. Then again, this could even manifest as certain close friends or close relatives being the ones who stab you in the back in some way. But whatever the case may be, we're noticing some type of villain projection linked to relationships. This could be committed relationships, close friends, business partners, parents, even your own children. But then what we also see is that you can come to terms with your own autonomy within relationships. So if, for instance, you later discover a piece of information, some truth that makes you question the very relationship you're in, then you can come to terms with what you need, right? And this could be a big learning thing for you, right? A big lesson for you is to connect with your autonomy and to connect with your rebellion, right? Your ability to rebel, your ability to stand up for yourself and to not, for example, be walked over or misled or mistreated or to be taken for granted, right? This does depend on the sign as well, right? So the sign is going to show the how. So if, for example, this is Black Moon Lilith in Libra in the 7th, this is even more highlighted, right? This could be a case of you, for instance, seeking this connection, and there is a sense of dependence and needing to be supported and validated by your significant other, for example, by your spouse, but then them not giving you what you need, right? Or shaming you for your dependence. Or it could be that there's a lot of fear to do with dependence, maybe because you were taught that you had to be super independent almost. And if you weren't independent, you were shamed for that. Yeah. Though another possibility is, let's say this is, let's say it's Gemini, right? Black Moon Lilith in Gemini. This can more so be about what you communicate, what you think within your relationships. And so a challenge could be for you to really use your voice to speak on what your decisions are, what your choices are, what you want from the relationship. This, for example, can manifest even as you in a way subconsciously learning to submit to what other people think and their views. And so you're coming to learn to really tap into what your views are, what your perspectives are, how you can give feedback. So those are just a couple of different examples. Okay, thank you very much, Lilith in the 7th house. And now on to Black Moon Lilith in the 8th house. All right, Black Moon Lilith in the 8th house, folks. Right, this one, honestly, this is a tough one. And the reason for why I'm saying this is because this shame, this rejection, humiliation tied to Black Moon Lilith could show up within your life when it comes to loss, when it comes to grief. For example, not having your grief supported, cared for. There could be denial even about your grief or about your pain. I imagine this, for example, as you trying to share the depths of your emotions and then being shut down, put down, ridiculed. Though another possibility here is your very sexuality being put down, shamed. Maybe even you being seen as the villain within your intimate relationships. Like everything is your fault. It all falls on you. You're the bad guy. You're the bad person. You're the one who is responsible for it all. And another way to think of this too is there could be challenges tied to trust itself and honesty and opening up. It's this question of who can you trust? This is a journey, this is a process, because I think that, sure, especially growing up, you may have learned on a very subconscious psychological level that people can't be trusted. You just got to repress your emotions. You got to lock those memories away, right? But then those kinds of things, they keep rising up to the surface in some way, shape, or form throughout your life. Hey, you know what? Maybe for many of you, you never want to look inside, and that is up to you as well. Of course, this is very complex, right? The 8th house is very complex. But I can't help but think that there does come a point in your life when you face your shadow, and this could be where you learn to channel your emotions and to transform greatly, to change your emotions into a different emotion. That takes so much time, so much effort. And so this could be where, for example, you turn to a counselor, a therapist, you join a support group, you speak with close friends. Basically, you get the emotions out and you address the pain, you address the heartache, you address your agony. You may even go on to help other people through their own emotional pain, right? And then I'm also thinking that when it comes to controversial topics, right, you could go all in there. Or hey, another possibility is that villainization stuff, that humiliation stuff to do with controversial topics. For example, you being shamed for what your religious views are, what your views are on matters that are very controversial. Crime could be a part of this. Maybe being shamed for a crime that you committed in the past. These are all examples. The sign is going to show the high, right? So let's say it's Black Moon Lilith and Capricorn in the 8th house. This could be where, yes, a lot of the intimate relationship stuff that I previously mentioned, this could be where it does feel like it's your responsibility. It's your fault. It has to fall on you to maybe overcome certain blockages or challenges within that intimate relationship. And that's a lot of pressure. That's a lot of expectation. But then let's say, okay, let's go with Black Moon Lilith and Cancer again, right? Black Moon Lilith and Cancer, that could manifest more so when it comes to your emotional world, your emotional needs. Maybe there's this starvation, right? This thirst, because you are crying out almost for connection. And it's not just on an SEXual level, but that's on a very emotional, deep level. So it's a question of how you get those needs met. But you know what? Because Black Moon Lilith is about defiance and authenticity, liberation, freedom, things like that, we could see this as you experiencing grand transformations, immense transformations to do with that SEX connection, to do with intimacy, to do with emotional vulnerability, things like that. And yes, like I'm trying to get at here with Cancer, the emotional side of things will be even more highlighted. But in general, this is what I'm trying to say. Thank you so much, Lilith in the 8th house. And now on to Black Moon Lilith in the 9th house. All right, Black Moon Lilith in the 9th house, folks. So, well, this is where we see humiliation, rejection, ridicule, shame. Coming from who? Coming from possibly religious figures, professors, lecturers, from mentors, from other students, from people you looked up to. We could also see this as you being villainized for your philosophical views, for your worldview, for your morality, and a lot of shame basically being put onto you from other people, by other people. Now, we could also look at this through a lens of shame for how you communicate. So, for example, if you know more than your native tongue, basically, if you know 2 or more languages, maybe you have experienced shame or ridicule for how you communicate a new language, right? And that has been quite a triggering thing for you at some point in your life. Or this could be a case of you saying F you to those people. Even saying F you through what you share, what you post online, and that could be tied in with your your morality, right? Your code of ethics. So, considering strongly what your message is, this could be where the defiance of Lilith kicks in. It says, "Oh, you're going to judge me for speaking that way, or you're going to try and shame me for what I believe in. Well, I'm going to speak even louder. I'm going to share this. I'm going to talk about this on the television, on the radio, on the news. I'm going to report on this." Maybe that's the thing too. You could be villainized for what you report, for what you share, for what you broadcast. And as I was also previously saying, right, there could be that shame placed on you for your views. So, for example, you deciding that you are an atheist, right? You don't have any religious view or standpoint. You say, no, I'm not religious. I don't believe in God at all. And then you getting a lot of shame for that, a lot of ridicule for that. And then the other way to look at this, right, from the other perspective, is you could decide, yeah, I'm religious, I'm devoting my life to God, and then similar thing, people have something to say about it, right? So yes, it all comes down to what your beliefs are, what your worldview is. And this is also where we see greater empowerment, your authenticity, you telling the truth. And by telling the truth, it's just about, okay, well, what do you believe in? What is true for you? Now, the sign is going to show the how, right? So as with the house, it's going to show the where, the sign shows the how. If, for example, Black Moon Lilith is in Sagittarius in the 9th, this is going to be even more highlighted, very much emphasized. This, for example, could be about you venturing out into the world and you deciding that you want to visit a new place, a new culture, a new way of life, and maybe people being a bit suspicious or skeptical, or they may look at it as, why are you doing that? It could be all these kinds of things. But this is about your aspirations. This is about your freedom. But then let's say it's Black Moon Lilith in Libra. Maybe a part of this is more so about the kind of partner you choose. So for instance, maybe you get involved with a partner who is from a different background, different culture, different country, whatever. And there could be some backlash there for that, for your decision. But you still say, no, I'm very firm in this. This is what I want. I'm living my life for me, right? This is what Black Moon Lilith is about. Black Moon Lilith says, I am independent. I am going to rebel. I am not going to bend to your will. Thank you so much, Lilith in the 9th house, folks. And now we're going to move on to Black Moon Lilith in the 10th house. Okay, Black Moon Lilith in the 10th house, individuals. Well, this is where we see the villainized stuff, the humiliation stuff tied in with your long-term goals, with your accomplishments, your ambitions, basically what you want to achieve in life. You being told that, oh, you're going to fail. No way. No, you shouldn't be doing that. You're going to fail. Have you any idea what you're doing? Are you crazy? Could also be some kind of humiliation that happens within the public eye. It's very public. It's very open. Other people perhaps trying to tarnish your public image, right? Trying to bring you down, trying to spread misinformation about you or discredit you. I even see this as you being the villain in the public's eyes. And you also being seen as someone who lacks self-respect or integrity. So a lot of stuff coming from the public, right? And maybe a part of that is because as you're trying to work your way up, so to speak, you're trying to gain credibility, you're trying to align yourself with your purpose, and you're being dedicated and everything. As you're doing that, maybe other people feel envious or they feel less than because of that. So there's a lot of fear that could be coming through. But then again, this could also manifest as humiliation and ridicule from public figures themselves. So even if you're not necessarily in the public eye yourself, it's people from within the public eye that are trying to bring you down or see you as the villain. Could also be coming from members of authority, bosses, managers. This kind of stuff could happen, could unfold. So when we consider the 10th house as representing your name, your title, your role, your position, perhaps in some way, shape, or form, there has been a rejection or there has been a type of pushback or you being put down for your title, for your way of showing up within your career, for your meaning of success, for your leadership abilities. And so, indeed, Black Moon Lilith here does suggest this empowerment, this ability to say, nope, I'm going to keep focusing, long-term goals. That is the aim. That's what I'm really aiming for here. This is my mountain of success. And everybody else can just, no, they can go away. They are not going to bring me down. It's this power, this drive, this fight to not be brought down. And even if you do experience some kind of downfall or there is a time where you feel like it's all too much, there will be a part of you that wants to get back out again. Now, this does depend on the sign, of course. So I'm wondering with Black Moon Lilith in Aries, this is going to be even more defiant. This is going to be even more about boldness, being very daring and very brave and very courageous and doing it for you, right? There is that sense of this is for me. This is about my independence, my leadership, my way of doing it. Or another way or another placement to explore is, let's say it's Black Moon Lilith in Pisces. Maybe that judgment or that ridicule is happening because others might see you as, oh, well, they're just changing things all the time. They can't stick to one thing. They're all over the place. They don't know what they're doing. But in actuality, to you, it's so clear, it's so evident, and you don't have to prove yourself to those kinds of people, right? You are very much in tune with your intuition and what you want in that way. There is that autonomy present within you. Then again, I just want to also further add that even we could see this the challenging relationships even tied to teachers or politicians, police officers, even your parents. So, for example, your parents being very firm with you about, oh, I don't think this is the right path for you. I don't think this is what you should be doing. Maybe being accused of certain things that you didn't do by members of the police, right? So, I also just wanted to add that into the equation as well. Thank you so much, Lilith in the 10th house, folks. And now on to Black Moon Lilith in the 11th house. Okay, with Black Moon Lilith in the 11th house, sort of similar to what I was saying for those with Black Moon Lilith in the 10th, there is something here about ridicule, shame, and judgment being placed upon you for your aims, for your future goals, for your dreams, and what you wish for being possibly so labeled as being possibly too idealistic, and maybe two, being seen as the villain for your ideal world, for the utopia, the social utopia that you think of. Yeah, you being labeled as the villain within many people's minds. Plus, you being labeled as the villain for your social identity, whether this be your political affiliation, your age, your gender, your ethnicity, and also possibly for what you choose to do with your life, right? Your purpose. So to think about these different group categorizations, you being shamed, you being seen as the villain, even for your non-conforming ideas, your non-conforming views, you might actually challenge authority a great deal. You might join certain groups or movements or causes. You might start them yourself. You might also stand up against certain groups that you don't believe in. You might expose certain organizations. And whilst there is a big part of you that wants to form alliances, I also see this as you experiencing a good bit of pushback or disruption within alliances and even friendships. So I imagine this as you finding it hard to really connect, really relate with people within certain social circles. Maybe because there are certain opinions you have that are very firm and very strong, and you just feel like it's hard to relate to other people who don't believe in the same thing you do, or they don't see the world in the same way you see the world, right? Yeah. And also being pushed out of certain social circles is possible here for sharing your views, and being pushed out of certain friendship groups. And maybe too, we could see this as the villain stuff being tied in with fans or followers or supporters. So I imagine this as maybe certain supporters of yours online building you up, building you up, building you up. And then within a flash, all of a sudden you're being brought down and you're being tear down for your views. It could be that you say something quite controversial online, and then that is when these kinds of experiences happen. So these are some possibilities. But then, because this is Black Moon Lilith, maybe you do come to really learn that your difference is what you want to celebrate, or your difference is what you're going to stay true to anyway, because that's what Lilith is all about. There is a defiance. There is this autonomy of, I'm not going to be told who I am and what I am. I know who I am. It's this type of attitude. Do keep in mind, yes, when working with Black Moon Lilith, there can be the extremes. We touched on the extremes a lot within Lilith Through the Signs, so make sure to watch that video. But if we're to think about the high, so the Lilith sign is going to show the high. If this is Black Moon Lilith in, let's say, it's in Capricorn, there is an ambition here. There is a reputational spin. There is a reputational effect present. And there is a strong purpose present as well. And there is also a strong determination and a commitment. There's a grit present. But then let's say, I'm really just making up the signs as I go along. I'm trying to think if I've missed any. Aries, Taurus, Gemini, Cancer. Let's do Leo again, right? We haven't done Leo twice, I don't think. So Black Moon Lilith in Leo in the 11th house. This is very much about how you're recognized within the group, how you're seen, how you shine within the group. So your defiance, I guess, so to speak, your autonomy is so much about, no, I am me. I am gonna shine. I'm not gonna dim my light for others. It's this type of attitude. Thank you so much, Lilith in the 11th house, folks. And now on to Black Moon Lilith in the 12th house. All right, lastly then, Black Moon Lilith in the 12th house, folks. How might this manifest for you? Okay. I'm thinking to myself that you have at some point been humiliated or ridiculed for your spiritual practices, for your spiritual beliefs, for this what you believe to be true when it comes to the afterlife. So believing in a higher power, God, creation. Plus, this could be a case of you keeping this Black Moon Lilith part of you locked away or sort of tucked away and accessing it more through your dreams, through your fantasies, through certain visions you have. Thinking even about your sleeping habits, your sleeping patterns, or whenever you are alone. So, what I mean by this could be a case of you keeping a lot in to do with previous times when you have been villainized or when you have been humiliated by others. And maybe a part of that could be a whole spiritual journey where there's a lot of healing and understanding. There's a lot of clarity that comes through. And you maybe don't feel like you have to share all of that with the world anyway, right? It's those kinds of situations where maybe you have felt like you are not part of something, like you should be cast out, you should be pushed away. It's those experiences, I think, that align with you tapping into symbolism and the past, thinking about the collective unconscious here, moments of history and human experiences, human memories. It's like you can tap into the collective unconscious and connect with those darker themes to do with humiliation, to do with being the villain. And this could be a big source of inspiration, right? This could be a huge source of symbolism, right? Where you can be creative, be very, very creative. You can communicate these feelings tied to humiliation and judgment so well. You can be creative with those things and communicate them through your writing, through filmmaking, through your art. And the other thing is, maybe you have experienced this type of ridicule through a through an experience that involved having to go far away, right? Going on a retreat or having to go into hospital, having to spend some time in an institution or in a mental health place where you needed that support, you needed that help, right? So I'm also thinking about this, and I don't want to go on and on about this, but I am thinking that this is where it's important to not completely hide Black Moon Lilith or stuff it down, because I am thinking that there can be a tendency to escape, right? So to cover up your rage or your upset tied to those experiences that I just mentioned. So to cover up your rage using certain substances or coping mechanisms or escapist, right, the escapist tendencies. Yeah, and the addictive tendencies here. Of course, we also want to remember the sign. So the sign is going to show the high. let's say this is Black Moon Lilith in Scorpio in the 12th. My goodness, this one, there is so much potential for grand healing and transformation and renewal and empowerment. And reaching moments of enlightenment. It's such a spiritual journey. It's full of depth. It's full of psychological exploration. It's so profound, this one. But of course, there's also those layers that are very complex and very difficult to process too. But then let's say it is Black Moon Lilith in Taurus. Maybe a really important thing for you with this placement is to connect with your body. Maybe there is some sort of challenge to do with connecting with your body, maybe because of previous experiences that sort of stay with you or have stuck with you psychologically or subconsciously. So maybe the key here for you is to connect with your body in a whole new way, where you're connecting with your senses, you're connecting even with your sexuality, sensuality. You're able to ease into the body more, into its sensations. You're able to relax more. Anyway, that is that. Thank you very much, Lilith in the 12th house, folks. But everybody, this has been the video all about Black Moon Lilith through the houses. As a reminder, this has been about the where. Make sure to watch Black Moon Lilith through the signs for the how, and then watch this one for the where. And then you can maybe piece that information together for yourself. Naturally, if you want to book a reading with me, if we look to your personal placement, we can do that. Thank you for watching. And if you do want to book a reading, go to hannahselsewhere.com. If you find this video to be helpful, you can always buy me a coffee. The links are down below. And essentially, yeah, I hope that you like. If you haven't subscribed yet, make sure to do so to keep up to date with new videos. And give the video a like if you did like it today. And stay tuned for more, everybody. Yeah, I will be back with another video very, very soon. Bye.